Well, good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Thanks for stopping here at D-Square-Model Trains. Well, let's get into it right now. We're out in the garage. We're going to do some painting. We're going to go ahead and prep this bad boy. We're going to do a little bit of work on the bottom of here. I've figured out what to do. And let's go ahead and get down to it. Now, as you saw in the previous and just the startup, I guess, through video, I have started working on the box part and getting that set up. So we're getting there, and I'm having problems looking at the camera today because of out in the garage. We're mobile. So, yep, let's get this focused on my work instead of me. We'll be right back. Well, we're back, and Oliver may join us in a bit. He seemed like it. I wanted to show you a little bit of some of the things we're planning as far as our under. Like here, this is what I'm planning as far as what the. Let me get a close up. I'm quite proud of this locomotive that's lit, or this caboose that's lit and everything. I wired it up, and that's going to be the coloring, but more rusted and worn. As you can see, those. Let me get my hand to hold still. And yeah, I'm quite happy with this. And like I said in the beginning of the video, you saw me prepping and painting the top of the other one where the tin would be, I guess, or whatever. And we'll be rusting in it and developing it and getting it much more weathered and damaged than this one. I'm quite proud of this caboose. It's wired using this really neat setup using instead of actually, which allow these to roll much better than the pressure sensors or pressure pickups. This little rye of conductive material, copper, sits there and rides on there for you and is excellent. It really is nice how it works. I'm quite impressed with the little setup. I was really happy. I built this out of scrap from a box, blue box as it goes. I did mess the brake handles. They're turned around, but that's okay. Right? We live and learn. I wasn't paying attention. For some reason, I just figured, oh, it makes sense going like this. But now it's the other way around, outside of your and this was color matched. I've looked at a live picture of an actual caboose, color matched, did slight weathering. Could have done more, I guess, done a little more rust streaking down through here. But anyways, let's get on, right? Because we're here. So I need some more light in order to work, and I'm going to turn this a little bit away from us and do our work with our first item, and that's going to be undercarriage. Now what we need to do before we do that, that's why I have our little screwdriver, is remove our knuckles. So let's do that real quick. I didn't want to put too much pressure on it. And that's one reason I have this towel. It absorbs. It's not against something. Just like this gives. So let's pull this off so we don't paint over it. Okay, we'll leave that in there because I do want to paint over this. So And we're going to go ahead and put a screw back in there too, because I want that screw coat painted as well. And if it seal, if it makes a little seal for a minute, it does not matter. Right? You to the side. Go. Now I prefer my McHenrys, but these are nice. These are working well, so I don't change them up. Because I have tracked a couple of their new, I do have a new Walters car. It's a wood crane car, Union Pacific. I actually got that through points on Walters.com from other stuff I'd purchased. So there. No plug for them, not really. It's just, you know, it's where I buy a lot of my stuff, and eBay. When we do trees, you'll see my preferred method of doing trees. Alright, let's get this out of the way. And normally this would be in my hood. Let's get some ventilation going. Take a drink of my Coca-Cola. Alright. Let's get this better in the frame. Now, for undercoating, I'm just going to use this Rust-Oleum. It's a nice oil rubbed bronze, okay? And all it does is it gives us a base to work with. And it kind of looks like some of that the undercoating for anti-rusting, and we can take and weather this too. Alright, so we want to take, there. Just nice. Even sprays. Now we'll let that sit for a minute, and while we do that, we'll talk about these. We're going to spray these down too. Now we will not be spraying these. What we'll do, we will spray this with our airbrush. We'll airbrush this in, even underneath here. We'll just leave these wheels in order to keep any paint from getting in there. We do have a tool to clean that out if that were to happen, but I don't want it to happen, if you know what I mean. Alright, so in that we will be mixing up our paints. We'll do more of this, more of a tin, along with our two metallics here. The chainmail with our silver, just to give it. Now what we'll do is we're going to throw a little bit of this light rust in it, though, to give it a more rusted metal look, and that's going to be what we'll do here on our trucks. Okay, I think we can hit that with another misting. So you don't, when you're doing just by spray, it'd be nicer to do this, I guess, with my airbrush, but to be honest with you, I don't care. I want this to have some texture to it. It's bubbled up. It's been worn. Stuff's happened to it, right? There. kick this around. You're not going to see for a minute. I try not to get it into our two inlets there. And notice, as you're working, you get paint on you. You have a rag, a piece, something, especially when you're working with your box, like I was at the beginning of the video there during the intro. You run the risk of putting paint where you don't want it, right? So always clean up. All right, let's let that cook a little longer. All right, let's go ahead and hit this with some paint. We'll just kick those right there. Whoops, that's fine. Well, come on now, don't do that, right? Alright, we'll let that sit and it'll kind of go over. It looks like that coating, that tarish coating that you paint onto stuff. And what we'll do is we'll kind of play with that as we work the bottom, right? So let that sit again. Now we're going to take, and also I figured out what we're going to do with our bottom here. And what we'll do is mix up a rust, kind of we'll get an orangish, a deeper, but with a smidgy more of orange in it than what, and add it to get this mixed up in here, and that's what we'll add to an airbrush. Just stuff here, we'll hit it there, you know, where areas would be worn, and dry brush the edges. But see, these corners, I want to have as a matter of fact, we need to prep that real quick, and that would actually make it a little easier on me. So I'll be right back. We're going to pause this video because I did not bring... Well, we're back. I lost a complete video of out there in the garage, which is fine. As I was putting together the video, my microphone was not recording. It was, excuse me, it was defaulting to the video cam mic instead of my snowball, the blue snowball I have. I'd carried that out to the garage. So my apologies for the quality of the sound in the previous videos. So we are back at the desk to show you a little bit of what I did out there at the desk. And what happened, we also were going to work on this by using airbrushing. And unfortunately, the airbrush did not work. I did not clean it out well enough. And now, or actually when I cleaned it, I didn't do my adjustments. Now, one of the things we want to make sure when we do our brush work, as you'll see I'll show my brush work as we work. Now remember, these we don't care about. These are just our wheels that we put in to keep us from getting anything into the supports, and where the axle supports and where our bearings turn. But you want to take and get your detail work. Notice we've got this nice springs. So you want to make sure you push your paint back there, but you don't want to glob it up. You want to see these nice holes, these support areas. And as we work this, you'll see we'll lay in some rust pigments to look like rust has been sitting there, building up a little bit, and this will get redder. Now, I noticed on my monitor it pulls a little more green than what it actually is here. Same with this side. You know, just make sure you get your paint pushed in. You don't want it too thick because you want to see these nice details of your bolts and whatnot. There. And then same underneath, I do some touch up, and I will touch this up again before we start doing more to it. Actually, we'll probably remove the wheels when we start doing our rusting. And this was primarily because I thought we were going to be using the airbrush, and it would keep things from getting pushed into those areas that we have concern. This is a little thicker paint I used, or is this the thin one? Let's see. One I had a more thin one, the other one I had a thicker. I believe this was my thicker one, and this was the thin. And I like the way this one turned out better. Play with your consistencies of your paint, okay? That's something too, and that that'll give you your flow and how well it'll sit and things of that nature. Another thing that we did in that video, let's move this to the side for a minute, is I added some chipping medium, and that's dried now, so it's hard to see, and I don't want to add any more right now because I want to work this. I've got the airbrush working, and so I'll go out there and do some airbrush. From now on, I think what I'll do in the garage is just video work and do voiceover back here at the desk, because the sound quality it bites, okay? And now notice we do have areas here that I messed up and got some paint. That's okay, because what we'll do is utilize that. Now let's see if you can see where I've got that chipping medium. You'll see it kind of a glosser. There we go. There's a good picture. See there? It looks like I did a crappy job of gluing, right? What we'll do is we'll do some light spray of rust just to mark things up, and then I can chip that off, pull that chipping medium off with a either wet, slightly damp paintbrush, which will kind of smooth things out, or I can chip at it with a stiffer brush or light stick, and then do some edging and painting so it looks like the paint is bubbled up. And that's the look we're looking to achieve. And we'll be able to use these edges as part of where the edging. Now, generally what I would do is paint over this, and we'll use our wash over this stuff and then chip off of it. Here we're kind of doing the opposite. The color we want is underneath it. We're going to do over, and then we'll chip out what we have and play with that. So sometimes you just work the problem that you have. Now, talking about our consistency of paint. Notice I did thin this down a little more than I wanted to, and so you see some of that showing through. But that's okay, because what we'll do with that, and it dried really nice actually, we're going to take and rust that up. So it'll be really neat. Now let me show you this. And now, as you saw earlier in the video, the caboose that we've got, and the light, let's see if you can, the light streaking of rust here. Now we're going to do more prominent rusting on this one, and so that's fine, and we'll work this in a little more. Notice the tin's a little more yellowed because I used a little more of a rusty color to it, and we're going to rust this up really heavy. There's some really neat things I've looked at, and we'll actually add some pigment to give it some texture on there. We didn't do that on here, but here we'll actually do some pigment, which gives it some texture that it's rusting up. Here on these sides, we'll put in these little bolt holes
We'll put a little rust coming there, and we'll just really start doing our weathering on this. We're starting to get some weathering to that. Well, netizens, that's it. There'll be a brief interlude of showing you my brushwork on this. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the video. I hope this was informative. Thank you, and as always, peace and prosperity to you and yours.